Tidbits from TNT, Monday, July 21, 2025. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com blog and become our supporter on Patreon. TNT. Tishwash. The World Gold Council expects the precious metal to rise by 5% this year. The World Gold Council forecast on Saturday that gold prices will rise by 5% in the second half of 2025. The council stated in a report reviewed by Shafaq news agency that gold continued its record rise, rising 26% in US dollars in the first half of 2025, achieving double-digit returns across various currencies. He added that the weak US dollar, limited interest rates, and a highly uncertain geo-economic environment led to strong investment demand. The council expects gold prices to rise by an additional 0% to 5% in the second half of 2025. However, economic performance rarely matches expectations. What if economic and financial conditions deteriorate, exacerbating inflationary pressures and geo-economic tensions? He pointed out that demand for safe havens increases significantly in times of geo-economic uncertainty, pushing gold prices up by 10% to 15%. On the other hand, a widespread and sustainable resolution of conflicts, something that seems unlikely under current circumstances, could cause gold to lose between 12% and 17% of its gains this year. Tishwash. An upcoming meeting between Erbil and Baghdad to discuss the mechanism for implementing the salary agreement is scheduled for tomorrow. Technical delegations representing the Kurdistan Regional Government and the federal government are scheduled to hold their first meeting in Baghdad tomorrow, Tuesday, to agree on a mechanism for implementing the agreement signed between them regarding oil exports, salaries, and local revenues. The aim is to reach an understanding and disburse salaries and financial dues to the region. On Monday, Al Jabal platform learned from a government source details of a report prepared by the Joint Committee between the Iraqi Ministry of Oil and the State Oil Marketing Organization, SOMO, which will be submitted to the Ministry of Oil and Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. The report stated that the Kurdistan region currently has an estimated production capacity of less than 81,000 barrels of oil per day. Last Thursday, a joint technical committee from the Iraqi Ministry of Oil and the State Oil Marketing Organization, SOMO, visited Erbil for 4 days, visiting the fields that were attacked by drones. The committee also prepared its own report on procedures for resuming oil exports. The committee stated in its report, since the 16th of this month, oil production capacity in the Kurdistan region has decreased to 81,000 barrels per day due to drone attacks. One of the points of agreement between Erbil and Baghdad was the allocation of 50,000 barrels of oil per day to meet the region's domestic needs. The Kurdistan region's production capacity was 280,000 barrels per day before the drone attacks. Operations at 5 oil fields have now been halted following drone attacks targeting Kurdistan's energy infrastructure in recent weeks, while operations at other fields have been restricted for security reasons. Link. Tishwash. Iraq is among the richest Arab countries, but its wealth is far removed from the realities of the people. Urgent. Despite recently being ranked among the richest Arab countries in terms of resources and revenues, the Iraqi economy remains stuck between the duality of wealth and mismanagement. This gap exists between GDP figures and the reality of citizens, who live under the burden of faltering services and unequal distribution of wealth. In this regard, economic expert Rashid Al-Saadi confirmed today, Sunday, July 20, 2025, that Iraq's inclusion on the list of the richest Arab nations is an indicator of an improvement in some general economic indicators, but it does not necessarily mean that this wealth is reflected in the lives of citizens or their level of well-being. Al-Saadi told Baghdad today, Iraq's position among the richest Arab nations indicates an improvement in the general economic indicators commonly used to determine the wealth of countries or peoples, such as per capita GDP, an indicator used to measure average income. Iraq also possesses one of the largest oil reserves in the world, which enhances its economic potential. For decades, Iraq has been ranked among the most capable oil-producing countries in terms of natural reserves and wealth. However, this ranking often clashes with the realities of administrative and financial corruption and weak economic diversification. These factors have thus far prevented these resources from being translated into a standard of living commensurate with the country's capabilities. He added, Iraq's ranking among the richest nations does not necessarily mean that all citizens live in luxury. Rather, the country possesses significant resources and capabilities that enable it to achieve significant economic growth. However, these riches do not always directly reflect on people's lives unless genuine reforms are adopted that ensure transparency and integrity in the management of public funds and combat administrative and financial corruption, which is one of the greatest obstacles to development. Al-Saudi explained that the Iraqi economy is in dire need of diversifying its sources of income. Over-reliance on oil makes the economy vulnerable to global market fluctuations. This requires supporting other sectors, such as agriculture, industry, tourism, and information technology, to ensure sustainable growth and achieve balanced development. Al-Saudi concluded his remarks by saying, Iraq's ranking among the richest nations represents an opportunity and a positive sign for the future of the national economy, but it alone is not enough. The real challenge lies in translating this wealth into a tangible reality that reflects the well-being of citizens through sound governance, clear development plans, and a long-term strategic vision that achieves stability and sustainable growth. Economic visions agree that international rankings do not necessarily reflect the well-being of people. Rather, they are sometimes linked to raw figures, such as gross domestic product and energy reserves, without considering how these resources are managed or their actual impact on citizens' lives. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com blog and become our supporter on Patreon. Source: dinarrecaps.com